Being 6 o'clock on Monday, May 20th, I will call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order.
Okay.
Our first appointment isn't until 6:05, so I'm going to have Town Administrator Zubricki start his report. There's a couple of things that we can probably do quickly.
So with respect to the public safety facility repair project, we did go out to bid, and as the board is aware, there was only one sub-bid. The only sub-bid category for this job was roofing and flashing. That sub-bid came in at over $560,000. But it's not even in play unless subsequent to that, a general bidder also submitted a bid, and that did not happen. When we announced the bid deadline last week, there were no general bidders. So even if you wanted to entertain the idea of going with that roofing bid, that sub-bid that came in, you're not allowed to. So your options include going back out to bid for roofing, going back out to bid for siding separately, or going back out to bid in a package. Another option would be to simply keep the project open, the capital project open for the life of the roof, which is permissible. And if you did that, although there are aesthetic problems with the roof at this point in time, you would at least have a handy way to go back and do repairs if there ever premature leakage of the roof.
And the only other problem is the fact that the costs are going to go up. Nothing goes down.
Correct. Yep. But let's say there was no problem with the roof, even aesthetically, then you'd probably find yourself rebidding the roof 25 years out or so.
I'll be dead.
Yeah. So my point is,
Hold on these? Or
No, you go ahead.
yep, so my point is, at this point in time, you're no worse off because functionally the roof is not failing. You did retain enough money in the contract that the contractor did not get paid to pay for the plans and specs that were done for the roofing and siding. So that you have that in your pocket now for no additional cost because you would have paid that money over to the contractor. And so it's something to think about. I can bring it back to the board if you'd like later, like in the fall, because if you're going to do this, our roofing consultant recommends that it's not until like January when the roofing community is a little bit more hungry for work, and that you might be able to get additional bids for more competition.
I guess my feeling is, since we don't have a failure of the roof, we haven't had any leaking at this time, it makes more sense to keep the funds there and address those when we have issues.
Totally agree.
So,
Okay, we'll
We're
keep
gonna hold off
it
for now.
open.
But we
Yep.
will keep
We'll
looking
keep
to
it
make
open.
sure nothing
Right.
exposes itself.
Yep. Yes.
It may not, and we can use it to re-roof it after.
You
the
may be able.
regular
You
life
may
of
be
the
able to
roof,
because
yeah.
because at that time you could say that you think it might have been premature.
Yeah.
Okay, so then this contract would stay open, the monies that we've already
Not the
acquired-
contract,
I
so-
mean, not the
yeah.
contract, the monies that we already acquired from the town stays into this coffer for the safety building only.
safety.
Correct.
Correct.
For construction of the safety building only until such time either the money is either spent or is declared that the project is closed by the Board of Selectmen.
And it's true construction, it's not furniture, finishings, nothing like that. It's specifically construction related, so anything that was to build the building.
And accrues interest.
Yes,
Yeah.
but not
At
at
a
some high
minimal-
investment rate,
minimal
but
rate.
it doesn't accrue interest,
It's
and
not
and that
investment.
stays with the fund, yeah. All right?
It is 6:05. We have an appointment with John Tremblay. If you'd like to join us, John, at the podium, because we are, I apologize. I should have announced at the beginning that we are live and we are being streamed and recorded, so this is being broadcast live. My apologies for missing that. If you can speak about 6 inches from the microphone, because it is recorded and people at home need to be able to hear you. Thank you so much.
All right, good evening.
So, John, if you just want to introduce yourself, Mr. Tremblay is before us this evening to request a change in the hours of operation for BB Botanics, and if you want to give us just a little bit of information and background on why we're looking to do the change, that would be helpful. Thank you.
All right, I'm John Tremblay from BB Botanics. We just had some customers request that we open a little earlier, the summer season, beach season. looking to open an hour earlier. Possibly stay open an hour later, but gonna review that, but we figure while we're looking for extra time, might as well go to 9 to 9. But definitely looking to open an hour earlier in the summertime.
Perfect, thank you. Does the board have questions for Mr. Tremblay?
I'm just wondering if that changes any of the security or police concerns or any of that sort of stuff? Do you know? Have you heard anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we haven't really had any issues over there with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the cameras run all the time. It wouldn't really change much.
Yeah.
So what I can tell you is that after the first year in business, Mr. Tremblay came before us because the town has to declare any sort of an impact fee that we would have the right to kind of recover. Those impact fees are things that cost the town money as it relates to police, fire, ambulance, things like that. And we received notification via email from the chief that there's been no policing concerns at B Botanics and that there was no actual community impact whatsoever. I also did review the host community agreement, and it says that the change of hours is up to the discretion of the Board of Selectmen. I also have the rules and regulations as it relates to the adult use marijuana establishment, which was effective October 6, 2020. And on page 3, section 8, operational provisions applicable to the retail marijuana establishments. Number C2 says the hours of operation of any retail marijuana establishment shall be determined by the board. In the absence of such determination, the hours of operation of any retail marijuana establishment shall be limited to 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Sunday through Saturday. So the request seems reasonable. I don't think that you're necessarily, in my opinion, I don't see such a high amount of traffic that you're going to be flanking it on either side, that you're going to increase it, or any more traffic, any more patrons. I think you're just going to give people more option to get there at better hours. So for those reasons, I'm in favor. Is there any more questions? No? I will entertain a motion to approve the request to increase the hours of operation for BB Botanics from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. as requested by the applicant.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Tremblay.
All right, thank you.
Have a great night. Did you have a question for me?
Do I need to get notification before we could start doing those hours?
No, no,
Already.
we'll put the vote in the file, and that will serve as evidence that it's been approved.
Okay, great. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank
You as
you.
well. We have
Right.
a few minutes.
So the next item on my report has to do with the Centennial Grove cameras and an upgrade to the server, the network video recorder setup that is at the police station. I had provided the board with some figures from the company that manages the system right now prior to town meeting, and more recently, I've gotten a quote from a company that's on the state contract, Oakers. Oakers is the company that actually set up this equipment for us. We got a grant for that equipment. And they've come in for the same scope of work, exact same scope of work at substantially lower cost. Also, the gentleman that came out to walk the site with me indicated that he felt that what was quoted by the original contractor probably wouldn't get us what we're really looking for. You took the trouble to run fiber out to the 2 areas of the Centennial Grove, and he suggested that adding a few more cameras or a few different types of lenses would be more beneficial. I think you can probably, for the same cost as you were quoted for the setup, the original company quoted, you probably get more out of this company, and we do have the funding for that. So I'm recommending that we get a new quote, now that we have the apples to apples with the other company, from Oakers, and move forward with them. And I would be able to just, you would authorize me to move forward with them.
So I will entertain a motion to move forward with Oakers Technology, who's on the state bid, for the Centennial Grove cameras as well as the server at the police station.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is an update on the Essex River dredging. The board may recall that the dredging was supposed to happen over this last winter that we just went through. It did not occur because last late summer into fall, when the bid by the Army Corps of Engineers was undertaken, when that bid process was undertaken, it was found that at least another $1 million was going to be necessary to fund the project. And so nothing went forward at that point in time. In the meantime, the Army Corps went back and determined that they could narrow the scope of the project somewhat by, in some areas where there's not a lot of sediment buildup, they could dredge to an elevation that would leave no more than 3 extra inches on the bottom and save another, well, they didn't say exactly how much, but save more money. So they're confident now that if they go back out to bid with that narrower scope, plus the $1 million, because there's been escalation from last season coming into this season, that the project will come in at a price that's within the available funding. And so it looks like they're going to go out to bid this summer for hopefully a start this fall over the winter. There was talk about whether it could be done in 2 consecutive dredging seasons, and the Corps is not favoring that approach because they determined that there'd be another $1.5 million in mobilization by demobilizing the project after year 1 and remobilizing when you get to season 2. And so at this point in time, that's what we think we're going to see. I know that Congressman Moulton's been working on this, as has Senator Tarr's office. The marinas will have the ability to potentially piggyback on this project by hiring the federal contractor on their own. They would make themselves known by perhaps the town putting in something called a request for information as part of the bid process, so that all the bidders would know that there's this potentially additional work out there. I can't say whether any bidder will take that on in addition to the federal channel work, because they may or may not feel that they have enough time within 1 season. But that remains to be seen.
But and not that it's our biggest concern here with the dredging, but that puts the mobilization costs that the Army Corps wasn't gonna spend on the marinas to bring the contractor back, which is $1.5 million more than they were planning to. Has anybody talked to the marinas to see what they feel about that?
I spoke with them. I think that the goal is to be persuasive when we meet with Congressman Moulton next week. Basically, they feel that this project will be dead on arrival if we can't do this. First of all, they want to do it over 2 seasons. One of the reasons last season we only got 1 bid is that the companies out there that do the river dredging felt that doing it in the treacherous, from, I guess, December to February was going to be very difficult weather to do it, which is why the 1 bid we got was an astronomical bid, and we didn't have enough funds for it because of that reason. So I guess my concern, and I'm going to address this next week when we're with the congressman, is that I understand the concerns here, but if this doesn't move forward, this is the second time going around, if it doesn't move forward, I think this project, we will not see dredging.
Right.
It's not like they're going to go for it a 3rd year in a row, so
Right.
I think we need to be as persuasive as we can.
Yeah.
We'll do.
I agree. I think that a project that's complete versus trying to figure out how do we get it done in a short period of time, which happens to be our worst season. I mean, this past season would have been lovely, except we didn't have it we didn't have it.
Right.
We can't guarantee.
Well, we only got
next
the
year's.
1 bid, and it was $1 million more than we had.
So they're still looking at the 3-month window to do the whole thing. Yeah. And so that's costs.
And that's everywhere, right?
additional
When they do
cost.
these
Yeah.
dredging projects, it's not like they start in September, they all start in the
No,
winter.
because of concerns about different organisms that are in different life stages.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's a conundrum, really. I mean, the Army Corps may pay more because of the short window, but overall, maybe less because of the demobilization and mobilization costs are, not added on to it for a second year, so.
Can
And
you make,
Congressman Moulton is gonna be here on what day?
on the 29th at
29th.
noon
At the water
at
plant.
the water plant, and then we go to the causeway?
Yeah,
Can you be there?
yeah.
You're-
I'm-
okay,
I'm gonna
perfect.
try.
I'm going to pause this conversation about the dredging. We have a public hearing, so I'm going to call that the public hearing, and then we can go back to the dredging if we still have more discussion. So being 6:16, we do have a public hearing with Energy North for change of manager to Zeno Corrigan. Are you Mr. Corrigan? If you'd like to join us at the podium, we are being recorded, so if you can speak about 6 inches from the microphone, I'm gonna open our public hearing, so just give me a moment, and then we're gonna have you introduce kind of what's happening down at Energy North.
Okay.
So I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing for the change of manager, Energy North, to Zeno Corrigan.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for joining us. So we do have the application that was submitted to the local licensing authority as well as the ABCC, and it appears as if there's just a change of manager. So if you want to give us a little bit of information, the application's in order. I see the quarry check's been done. Has the town run a quarry?
I have it
You
here,
have it
so-
here, perfect.
Well, they need to fill it out.
I'm going to have them do that. So if you want to give us a little bit of information about what's going on, what the change is all about, and then we'll talk about our needs.
Yep, so we are, if you've been by, we've replaced the roof, we've paved the parking lot, we've done some improvements, and we're upgrading our management staff there. So in the interim, Bob, who was in the store, was there temporarily from Gloucester while Gloucester was closed, and we raised and rebuilt it. So I am taking on the role there as the manager. You'll probably have another change in manager in about 6 months. We have a gentleman there, Pete, that's working with me as the assistant manager. I'm hoping that we can make him a manager down the road, but for now, I'm the one running the show there. I'm there about 12 hours a week. I'm promoting in all the time, but we just needed to change the way we went to market and bring our standards up a little bit. So in order to do that, we have to change management and make changes. So I'm the interim manager, so we want to make sure we did it right, filled out the paperwork, put it in, so everybody here knows what we're doing. And like I said, our goal is to get a full-time manager in there with some good experience. Pete comes from a box container area, doesn't have the C-store. I think he'll be a good manager in about 3 years, but he's not going to be a good manager today, so we're in search of that unique manager.
Excellent. So I just had a couple of questions. I know in the application, you wrote that you would be on site about 10 hours a week. You're saying about 12, so
Yep.
give or take. My question for you is just, based on your residential address, how far is that drive from where you are to Essex?
So my residential address is not necessarily where I live.
Okay, all right.
So it's my place of record for tax and everything else.
Okay.
It's my home in Maine. But I actually have an apartment in Andover, Massachusetts, and an apartment in Wells, Maine.
Oh, so pretty
So
well.
I bounce between, yeah.
I was looking at MapQuest and I thought, oh my goodness, how is he coming
Yeah, it'd
to
be like
Essex?
4 hours to come here to go to work.
That was why I was going down this line. Is, are you really coming here, driving 4 hours each way to work, Tim?
Yep. And I've been staying at the Hampton Inn.
Keeping eyes, in that industry is pretty important for everybody.
Yes.
So the town of Essex also requires that the town itself do a quarry check. So you did fill out the quarry check for the ABCC, which was
Yep.
complete, but we don't get those results. So we do our own quarry check that the town administrator runs. He's
Okay.
the only one that views those results, and then he just gives us the okay that everything was perfect.
Okay.
So Peter and Alva, do you have questions?
I do, and it's maybe for Brendan or you. I'm not sure what Energy North, why they're coming before the board. What is that?
It's Richdale, and they sell alcohol.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
That's just their
Makes sense.
Yeah, we're
corporate
the
name.
convenience store.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yep. So with the sale of alcohol, well, you already said it.
yes. Alva, do you have questions?
I do not. I had the same question
Okay.
And then I looked it up and I saw the picture and said, oh, okay, it's Richdale.
Do you have any questions for the
Nope.
board? Okay, so I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will entertain a motion to approve the change of manager for Energy North to Zeno Corrigan pending or contingent upon passing the town quarry check.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
You're all
I'll fill
set.
this out and I'll just leave it up here afterwards.
You can walk it right over to the table and Town Administrator Zubricki will take it.
Yeah, 'cause I gotta look at your license too. That's part of it.
Is there,
Hold off on this because it needs a check.
I think so, yeah.
are there any other questions on the Essex River dredging project?
No, I think maybe we'll, so what is our direction? Is our direction to try to get Moulton's office to get additional funding for a two-season project?
I think we're just gonna,
Or were we just happy with the million that he got for the?
Well, I think you need to discuss the likelihood of one over the other, and I don't know.
Is the Corps gonna be at this at all?
No.
no,
I'm just wondering,
think
'cause we
that-
won't know numbers.
right. And I think the dredging piece of this was kind of a secondary thought. I think he was
Yeah, and this is
initially
just a
coming for,
He's just here for a site visit, and the
Right.
board is gonna be viewing the water plant improvements.
Right.
And then we're gonna be at the harbor, looking out over the
Just
dredging
looking at it,
as a site visit, yeah.
given his visits that day, I don't think we're gonna get him long, so we need to be persuasive in the couple of minutes that we're gonna get with him on the causeway.
Do we
Or-
wanna get a hold of the Army Corps and try to find out what the difference would be, total?
Do you-
To-
did-
so-
I don't know
I
if we
think
have that.
Craig, didn't Craig put that in the email?
1.5 million extra for mobilization.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we're gonna pay a premium for a shortened, as
Right,
we
and
saw
so,
last
but I don't know if I
Right.
will try to ask and see.
Because if you run a cost-benefit analysis and you look at the difference between
Yeah.
one season versus two.
And so when
even-
they, so if we just did the river dredging, does it start further down the river, or does it start at where?
It starts immediately after Perkins Marine. So basically,
That was my question.
where the ownership of
Okay.
Perkins Marine stops, it goes out to pretty much Ipswich Bay.
And then my other question would be, so if they did it over 2 years, will, like the dredging of the marina area cause any issue to the dredging that was already done prior?
Well, so when we say over 2 years, it's 2 seasons. So it would be October, November, or September, October, November, and then it starts again February, March, and April, right? So it's 2 seasons, but it's
Okay, so it's within the
not
same.
literally a year apart.
Well, I don't know that for sure. I don't know.
Well, that was the original request last year.
Right, but
Well, at this point, we don't know anything other than they're doing it in one season.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we wanna get, make it a little bit more specific to Moulton's office. This is what it costs to do it in 2 years, this is what it's gonna cost him to do it in 1 year, paying the premium. Just so that he has something to think, a target to shoot for.
So you're
He's
saying
"Oh,
like
yeah,
having an executive summary or something so that he understands?
Yeah, or just knowing it so that we can say, see if you can get another $750,000 so that we can really do what we need to do here, or something like that.
Do you
I
think
don't know.
Craig could answer that?
oh, well, I'm gonna ask these questions. I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask,
Okay.
what is,
And he may
what does 2 seasons mean to them? Are we talking about one fall and then the next fall? Or are you talking about a break for the dead of
Yeah,
winter?
right. And he may say that, there's no premium for doing it in 1 year, he may say that, just to,
Mhm.
keep it from ballooning up at all. But, I mean, it's worth seeing what comes of it, because it's gonna be tough for the marinas, I'm sure, to, come up with that extra million.
That's a
and
lot of
half.
money.
Yeah,
Well, they won't do it. I don't think they're gonna come up with
I
$1.5
don't
million.
think
They're just not gonna get dredged.
yeah.
And the issue is, if you block passage down in that end, you're stopping boats really from coming up the
And
rest of the
all
river.
that sediment is just gonna go into where they're dredging out, right nearby.
Right, that was what the other concern I had. If they don't do anything
Yeah.
with the marina area, then
Just slough off.
it's just gonna start
Filling back in.
pulling back in.
Yep, because the river is there, and the river is quite an influence in that section of the the main river so that it's just flowing water and sediment towards where they're dredging.
Right.
You know, so,
I think the
Doesn't make
positive is that, if I looked at it correctly, the date, it's low tide right at 11.
Yeah, it would be nice if it was super low tide, but
I know.
it's low enough tide that I think he'll get some visual.
what time is low tide?
My calendar only goes to the 27th, and the 27th it's at 9:30, so 2 days later, should be
Yeah,
11:30.
Yeah, 11:30, yeah.
It'll be pretty low.
It'll be low. What, does it say what the
Oh, the depth, I
elevation
do.
is?
I'm kept on my phone.
Okay. Any other questions about dredging?
No.
No. Okay.
The next item is annually, we evaluate whether you want to have a successor contract with our third-party ambulance billing company. Comstar is the name of that company. They have been doing great work for us for many years. I asked the fire chief if he'd like to stay with them, and he indicated that he would. So I'm recommending that the town sign another one-year agreement with Comstar.
I will entertain a motion to sign a one-year agreement with Comstar that would be effective July 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the copies of that should have been,
Aye. They're in the,
you have them,
yeah.
okay.
Yes. Peter,
It's
can you
1.3.
hand me that folder?
Oh, sorry. 1.1?
The next item has to do with
I think
the cable franchise agreement. So Comcast is the only cable television provider in the town of Essex. They have a contract that runs 10 years at a time. The last time that the contract was renewed was for 2017, which means it expires at the end of fiscal year 2027. I was involved in 2007 and in 2017 when this contract was renewed. In both of those times, the town used a regional approach. So the 4 Cape Ann communities formed a regional cable advisory committee. And that committee goes through something called ascertainment, which is just trying to get an idea from the public, what are the things that the public values most about the cable company, how can the public be best served by it. Interestingly, we don't negotiate or cannot negotiate about programming or rates. That's outside of
This
the
is-
process.
This is cable coming into the town, so it affects all of the residents,
Right,
okay,
Pay for cable.
who pay, who
who
get the cable.
participate with that.
Has the definition of cable been expanded in recent years to include some of the streaming services that they provide and all that kind of stuff, or is it just strictly the physical cable connections?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's been expanded beyond, the traditional
Yeah,
sense. And the community doesn't get to negotiate on programming or rates anyway.
yeah.
Those are things that they also offer. And certainly, the contract that we have with them recognizes that there's more than just cable TV. But I
Yeah.
think as we get into that, we can get you more information. The question right now is, and I've heard back from Manchester and Rockport, but not from Gloucester yet. And they're in agreement, Manchester and Rockport, about, again, going with a regional cable advisory committee. I think it went very well.
Yeah,
And then what happens is, once you go through the needs of the communities of Cape Ann, each community then negotiates its own successor agreement. And we ended up using we shared the cost of council KP Law, because the 3 towns all have KP Law as their town council. And I believe Gloucester has their own council as well, but they also deferred to some of the things that KP Law had to say. So you save money on legal services without giving up your own individual contract. So Is that something the board is interested in pursuing again, a regional
It makes sense. yeah.
cable advisory committee? Okay. And that was it for my report.
Thank you. I'm going to go slightly out of order. I see that we have residents from Canomo Point with us this evening, and I think you're here to talk about trash barrels. Lisa? Yeah. So, Lisa, you don't need to join us. I'm just going to kind of review what I know and share with the board so that we're all on the same page. Not everybody was included in the emails, so I'm just going to quickly go through those and talk about that. Okay. Bear with me. So on our agenda, we have a discussion concerning whether trash barrels should be redeployed at Canomo Point. So giving you a little bit of background, the DPW commissioners met in
Well, the original request came from the selectmen on this. So
to remove the barrels.
the selectmen discussed having carry and carry-out signs at Canomo Point. And so we ordered those signs, and when the signs got put up, the trash barrels got removed, because why would you put up those signs? When that happened, we had some people question it, and so now would be an opportunity for the board to discuss it again.
Okay, so, my apologies, so the DPW commissioners did take this up at their last meeting, and they voted to remove the barrels and install the signs.
We asked them to have the signs, and then I guess on their own, they looked at, their own operations.
Okay. So,
How did they respond to no barrels? They happy about that? That there are no-
I have not talked to them. What I can tell you is that I received an email from the president of the Canomo Point Association. So he received an email from a resident, and his email says, his name is Craig Markowitz. It says, Craig, I just wanted to point out an issue that I came across yesterday on Facebook, see attached, which I'm going to read. It sounds as though the few trash barrels that in the past the town had provided have been removed. I see that it will certainly cause issues. The idea that this will all of a sudden become a carry-in, carry-out area is absurd, and we will be left holding the bag. It looks like the decision will be revisited at the Board of Selectmen meeting on May 20th. I was just not sure if the CPA wanted to address the situation with a letter or some representative at the meeting. Just wanted to bring this to your attention. Have a great day. So Craig wrote to me, and he wrote, good evening, Ruth. The below email was sent to me, CPA board, today from another board member. It's disheartening to see the action taken just after the CPA board expressed concerns over the need for additional services to accommodate the high amount of visitors and activity at Canomo Point. These barrels that were removed, placed at the park and at Clamorous Beach, and I believe another was placed near the new picnic benches, are necessary to keep the area sanitary and surrounding waterways and environment clean for visitors and wildlife. The CPA board kindly requests that the Board of Selectmen reconsider the decision and reinstate the barrels on Canomo Point. Thank you, Craig. And then the post on Facebook says, yesterday the trash barrels at Canomo Point were removed, and it's now carry in, carry out. As far as I know, this occurred without any notice or community input. Well, here's my input. For years, a group of residents have been picking up the trash on Canomo Point Road and Canomo Point and placing it in those barrels. This community service has been under the radar, and so there has been no real understanding of the appalling volume of trash, even with the barrels. It's magical thinking to expect trash will not build up on Canomo Point. In fact, there were 2 pieces of saran wrap type trash this morning that I would have normally placed in the barrel. This is day 1, but instead, I just left them on the ground, and that does not feel good at all. My question for the town is, what's plan B? We cannot expect residents to carry home the trash and absorb the cost. Can we afford a DPW team member to pick up the trash periodically? And it gets cut off. But the point is that without barrels down there, the burden is being left on the.
And I understand with their concerns, but I also know that I live on Martin Street, and when I walk down the street of Martin Street, I carry my bag and pick up trash and put it in my house to take it to the dump on trash day. And I've been doing that for 20 years. So I know that it's a high-populated area. It's mainly supposed to be residents, both of the Canoma Point residents and the rest of Essex that are using it. I'm really nervous because I usually go to Crane Beach on a Monday at 9 a.m. And the place is filthy. I don't disagree. It's filthy. But we don't have the funds to having one area that we just constantly clean up. I'm a little bit nervous about that.
Do you have some?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the fear might be that since we've gone to paper bag, that, people might bring trash down there, and dispose of it, but, I mean, it is populated enough, there are enough eyes out there that I don't think that's gonna happen where it would happen at Centennial Grove. And, I think, there are a lot of people that congregate there. It is a resource of the town, and, there is trash around even when the barrels are there. So I'm thinking that, maybe we should reinstate them. I mean, it's, the DPW goes around once, for a certain period of time, whatever the season is. But the DPW goes around, I don't know how often they were emptying those barrels. Was it like every day?
No, it's usually once a week.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's not too much of a burden,
Not a heavy lift.
yeah.
I'm against it, but I'm also saying, okay, you want to do that, let's measure it. We're all paying to put our trash in the pay-as-we-go. And so to have this one area that's not is kind of,
Will any trash that's removed from town property, so these barrels that are picked up by the DPW, no one's paying for. If they're delivered to the transfer station in a town truck, they're disposed of at the town's cost or at the taxpayer's cost, because we're all paying for tipping and hauling. So I think that, Alba, I agree with you that when I walk down the street, I equally pick up trash, but Canoma Point is right on the water, so when trash is going to blow, it's going to blow literally right into the ocean. There's not even a chance that it's going to blow to the side of the road and then somebody else might pick it up. It's going into one of our precious waterways. I'm going to allow Lisa to join us at the microphone at the podium, 6 inches away when you speak, Lisa, and this is Lisa Lampert. She is a resident of Canoma Point.
Thanks, Ruth. Hi, Lisa Lambert. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I am here to talk about the change in policy with respect to trash, and just really to share some more background information that may not have been on the table when that original decision was made, but that in fact, to your point, there are a whole bunch of people that walk Canoma Point. Myself personally, I pick up trash at least 5 days a week as I walk. I'm fortunate to live near there and utilize that resource. And, the volume of trash is appalling. It's just a fact of life, and that is with the barrels there. And, with the barrels not there, I'm just, super concerned. I'm now seeing it. I have a picture for you from this morning where I just walked on the point. And I don't think it's actually people all the time being malicious. We certainly a population of the trash is from that, but it blows from pickup trucks, it falls out of boats, and it's there. So this morning I picked up, 6 or 8 pieces. I have a nice photo if you'd like to see it. But then I walked around the other side of the point, and there was a deflated balloon and another thing. So the point has been pretty pristine with respect to trash, but what I would say, it's a band of merry elves that go along day in and day out doing that on behalf of the town happily. And we just really ask for the opportunity to continue to do that and not need to bring the trash home and pay out of our own pocket. And the other part too, it's not as if it's a normal street. There are people congregating there and having picnics. It's an amazing area, and people use it. And we just want to have the ability to throw the trash away and have the DPW support it as we have, for the last few decades anyway.
We can keep the carry in, carry out, and some people will do that, but there is a trash problem aside from that, that is not being carried in necessarily, but just like you say, blowing off boats, out of trucks, whatever, dropped, whatever, and they don't even know it sometimes. So maybe maybe just encourage people to carry in, carry out, but have a barrel or two
Leave the
there.
signs. Lisa, do you find that the trash problem is year-round, or is it specific to seasons?
It's certainly cyclical, absolutely, but even in the winter, things do wash up on the beach. So right on the beach, you can quickly grab some stuff that comes up. But the barrels, I would say, are needed year-round. And I've never seen the barrels, well, every once in a while, they are really, full. But the DPW, they come down there and they do maintenance, they mow once a week, they're doing whatever they do for the, down there, and they seem to change the trash at the same time, so they do keep up with it. The worst problem is once in a while a barrel will blow over, but, I think Ruth, year-round support would be ideal, and then whatever schedule they have for trash pickup has been working.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I'm in favor of redeploying the trash barrels. I know that we had the same, somebody brought the concern to us about trash barrels at Centennial Grove. That seems a little bit more of an issue because it's, at this point, there are no cameras down there and people are actually bringing their trash bags down there and putting them in our barrels to get picked up because they don't want to pay to throw.
Right.
This is more of a, you're walking down the street, you find the nips on the edge of the road and you're throwing them in a barrel. So I'm in favor of redeploying the barrels, but leaving up the carry-in, carry-out signs, hoping that people take the suggestion.
I'll only vote for it if you also monitor, if the DPW monitors what's going in there. Because I just don't want somebody's big green bag going in there because they don't want to pay for
Right.
the yellow bag. That's what my concern is.
Yeah, which is a real concern, but I think, as I said, I think there are enough people, that live right there, that are walking around, it's not like Centennial Grove where there can be 20 people down on the beach and they're not gonna know what's going on up at the trash barrels, but Canomo is different, and I think that
And that's fine.
you gotta be,
Yeah.
have some guts to do that, throw out your trash. Well,
You know what, I think that you're looking at the main time of the day. It's all the time. Anybody could go down there. I could drive down
even
there
at
and
night.
throw a green bag down there because I don't feel like,
But even at night,
Paying for
people
the
are
trash
there.
bag.
Yeah.
The
That's what-
visibility at Canomo Point, though, is a little bit more in your face versus Centennial Grove, it's kind of hidden. It's at the end of a dead-end street. People are doing it. Canomo Point, there's always people watching what's going on. But I think policing trash is going to be difficult. I mean, that goes back to enforcement, the biggest problem we have in this town. So who's going to go through the trash? We're going to ask the employees to go through the trash, rip open a bag, see whose it is, knock at the door. I mean, is it littering? They put it in a trash barrel. So, you know what I mean? At least we have to be grateful they put it in the trash
that's where my
barrel.
concern lies. And so indeed, if there's no big green trash barrels, maybe it's not an overburdensome item where we have to go 3 times a week because the barrels are being full constantly. That's the type of monitoring I'm talking about.
Sure.
Yeah, let's see what
I
happens.
think that's
We'll see
a
what
fair
happens.
request for the DPW to
Right.
monitor how the trash barrels are filling up.
Yeah, are there
That's-
bags of trash in the trash barrel? It is all in.
Right, and part of the concern, I think, is that we've gone to this new form of disposal, and will somebody try to circumvent that?
And that's where, because the whole town has gone through this new pay-as-you-go, it's new, and so, yeah, we have to be able to at least make sure that it's not being abused. That's my concern.
Yeah.
I will entertain a motion to request that the DPW deploy the trash barrels on Canomo Point as well as leave up the carry-in, carry-out signage.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. You're welcome to stay, Lisa, or you're welcome to enjoy your evening. Thank you. Thank you. Are you folks here for a particular agenda item?
We're doing the one-day entertainment license request.
Okay.
So at the bottom. Under Kurt,
If-
it's under Kurt.
If you want to join us at the podium, and when you speak, just 6 inches into the microphone so that people that are joining us online can hear you, that would be great. That's okay. Let me just get to the license. Bear with me 1 second. You're in the agenda.
It's for August 24th.
Just one. Is it just one? Yeah.
Okay, so under the one-day entertainment licenses, Rivers Bend at Essex Marina LLC, Kurt Bergeron, for use on Saturday, August 24th, 2024, between the hours of 5:30 and 8 p.m., within the confines of the tented area at 35 Dodge Street with amplified violin music. Can you tell us a little bit about the event? Is it a wedding? What is the event?
That's correct, it is a wedding.
It's a wedding. And does this, will you be serving food and alcohol outside?
Just food.
Just food, no alcohol.
Just food, no alcohols?
The dinner.
Okay.
We have we given permission for amplified outside music here for a wedding for 3 hours?
Not that long.
No, not that long.
Only for very short
Short
periods of time.
windows. Yep.
So this is something new.
So this is something new. So it is amplified, which is, does go against the policy, and it is for a much longer window. Typically, we've been seeing the requests for anything amplified that's outdoors. I think the biggest window we've seen is an hour. Is that correct? It's about an hour.
I
And
believe that's
generally
true, yeah.
speaking, they keep them at about 30 minutes. So this will be, a significant increase to the duration of time that it's outside.
And it's a single violinist or a whole band of violin?
I wouldn't say a whole band. I would put a cap at around 3 at most, yes.
Yeah, the only reason we would like it to be amplified is just because we're gonna have, it's 150 guests. And so when I asked about the unamplified violinists, they said nobody would be able to hear us, like over dinner,
Yeah.
clanging. So it's just for cocktail hour and then an hour dinner.
Of dinner.
And so we can make sure it ends at 8 PM.
So is cocktail hour with alcohol?
The cocktail hour will be inside Rivers Bend, so it'll just be outside if anyone's not drinking. Like, we have kids attending. Like that.
I'm willing to try it and see.
The only question I had was
Against our
whether or not
policy, but-
there's another group in the area that's having anything on this day. If we know. I know they're not on, I don't think I'm seeing them on here for August 24th, but I just wanted to,
Yeah,
the conflict of music if there's multiple.
There's obviously not on this particular agenda.
And the only clarification, it would be only for 2 hours. I know that's longer still, but it would be from 6 PM, the guests would arrive, and then we'll make sure to end it by 8 PM. And then we'll leave the tent and go inside Rivers Bend.
And is the entire party going inside?
Yeah,
I think I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
If you're looking to make the change to 6, then they should amend the application.
They should amend the application, but we also have an occupancy load issue because it's not
100.
sprinkled. And it's 100 people due to NFPA regulations, so.
Okay.
So I'm sure, I don't know if you've worked with Rivers Bend and they've told you, but the town of Essex does have a policy concerning the issuance of outdoor entertainment. And the reason for this is that being on the river with the acoustics from the river, depending on whether it's low tide, high tide, the way the wind's blowing, all of those things can really kind of shoot how the music or, the level of noise, amplification can affect the neighbors. So we developed a policy that talks about the preference of the board. And the preference of the board is things like no more than 4 hours, preferably acoustic, not amplified, from 1 PM to 8 PM, and those are the things that can kind of mitigate some of the concerns. This particular property sits literally right on the river, which is why it's one of the most beautiful places to get married, but it equally amplifies that, the level of acoustics or the level of amplification directly across the river. So it does become problematic, and sometimes we hear that it becomes, the battle of the bands if multiple people are having events on the same day. So I was on the original board that developed the policy. I congratulate you on your wedding day. I think it's going to be beautiful, but I'm not in favor of this application simply because it does go against the policy that I have maintained a strict allegiance to. I use it as a guide to make sure that I am consistent in the way that I vote. But I'm going to leave it to the other 2 selectmen to talk about what they would like to do.
So you said that the 150 is not in accordance with,
So it'd be a different issue. It's when they move inside, does the proprietor have the ability to actually have that many people in the facility? And my understanding is no, because it's not sprinkled.
yeah.
That's a different.
Yeah,
This
totally different
license is
issue.
strictly about the music. It's not, I'm just bringing to the board's attention that it's a 100-person facility.
I'm inclined to, allow it the 6 to 8.
With the amended,
So they'll have to amend that license to document that.
They could do that right now,
Yep.
yeah.
so would you make the motion and then I'll
Yeah.
second?
I'll make a motion to vote to allow Rivers Bend at Essex Marina LLC, Kirk Bergeron, for the use on Sunday, August 24th, 2024, between the hours of 6 PM and 8 PM within the confines of the tented area at 35 Dodge Street, amplified violin music.
So moved?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep, cross it
Ruth, do you abstain?
We're just gonna go with that, I'm pretty sure.
And, you know, we'll just monitor it, see what
That's what I
happens.
think we have to do, is we have to monitor it.
Or
Thank you.
at least monitor complaints that come in or don't come in, you know?
And, exactly.
So you abstain?
And I abstain. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay and enjoy the meeting, or you're welcome to leave.
Go do something better.
Okay. We have police officers in the room, so I'm sure that there are a couple of things they want to talk about or listen to. Let's see.
One question to clarify, I just wanted to see where we stand on that current situation.
You have a outdoor amplified violin from 6 PM to 8 PM on August 24th, 2024.
Perfect, thank you.
Nothing else we were talking about is related to the license that you requested,
Okay.
okay? If you do so choose to change that cocktail hour to including alcohol, then you would need to have a one-day alcohol license. So that would come back before the board for approval, and any location is allowed to have 30, up to 30.
That's outdoor.
That's outdoor. So the indoors, you can have all the alcohol you want because that's licensed. But outdoors, if you consume any alcohol, it needs a license. And it's a tight little neighborhood, so you want to make sure that if you consume any alcohol, you should have a license. Okay? So, under other business, the fourth bullet says to consider the process for hiring the new chief of police to serve beginning after the current chief's retirement on July 1st, 2025. So, really, this is going to be certainly a much bigger conversation as the time moves forward. We have a little over a year, so this isn't a decision that we're making rapidly or in any fashion like that. I think really the thing we need to discuss this evening is whether or not we're going to look into doing an assessment center. So an assessment center is when you have a group of, generally speaking, chief of police or retired chiefs of police that come together. You give them kind of the criteria. It's almost like an RFP where you go out for requests for proposals. You kind of give them the criteria that you're looking for your next chief. They compile that information. They put it together. It's like a scope of work. It's a really big packet. It's relatively expensive, probably somewhere in the $100,000 range. And then they go out on a search to determine who
This
is
is like a search committee of police chiefs or ex-police chiefs?
similar to a search committee. So
Yeah.
it's an assessment center where they put together, like I said, it's like an RFP, like a request for proposals, with all the information that we dictate that we're looking for in the next chief.
And they're all Massachusetts police, Eastern Massachusetts police, or?
Depends on who they can find. They participate in different, the company that puts it on will find chiefs that are available for that time frame. And this was the approach that was used when Chief Silva became chief. And then Chief Francis was a promotion from within. So we've done it in different ways in the past.
So I think for this evening's discussion, it's really, we need to take this one step at a time because we do have time, and I don't think we need to rush into anything. But I think we need to at least talk about the assessment center, whether we're for it or against it, if we think that's the process to go. There is a cost associated with it. We will need to talk to the finance committee about the budget, et cetera, et cetera. So we can chat through that and have a discussion. I'm particularly not in favor of an assessment center. I don't think the town of Essex, I think that we have
Pretty straightforward requirements for.
Yeah,
police.
straightforward requirements. I don't think we're the city of Boston. I think that we're a relatively small town. I think we, as a board, know what we're looking for. And I think that, you can look at the past chiefs to know what it is they've done, how they've supported the community, and what we want going forward. So I just think that, for me, it feels like kind of throwing good money after bad when we already know that we have qualified candidates and we don't necessarily need to do that. So I'm not in favor of an assessment center.
I tend to agree, yeah.
And if that's the case, I can go and develop more of an outline of how you might be able to go about it for some future discussion.
Yeah, okay, what our other options are.
Right.
The other thing that I think might be beneficial for Brendan is, if the board recalls, we had a request at one point to put together a list of places that we could have townspeople make donations to. And we individually emailed Brendan with, the police department, the fire department, the shipbuilding museum, PTO. So we created a list of 25 different organizations that are Essex-based that we could do donations. So my recommendation would be equally, if there are things that the board feels they want to see in our next chief of police, whatever it may be, we could email a list and he can compile that so we know what it is when we put it out, put out the job description or put out the hiring notice, that we say, like, we're looking for these things, whether it's more operational experience versus administrative, like what is it we want? So I think we could put those things together and send it, and he can compile a list that we can all look at. Does that make sense? Okay, so do you want me to take a motion on not doing an assessment center? Do you think we should make it?
I don't think you have to. I mean, I'm not going to go looking at that unless the board
want it.
was
Okay.
saying that, yes.
All right, so no assessment center. Alva, you were in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we want to ask if they had any?
Do either of the sergeants in the room have any questions?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you're welcome to stay. Is there anything else, police
Yeah,
related?
Nemlik.
Oh, Nemlik. So we are still waiting on information from Nemlik, so I don't think we have enough information to actually take a vote on that. I think that the chief is still going to get us documentation, so we'll table that till the next meeting, assuming we'll have it by then.
Yeah, and this is just the concept of us wanting to know how do we get out of it if we needed to get out of it?
Right, and we requested a copy of the bylaws, and so Nemlik hasn't provided those as well.
Right, you had requested other things as well, and the chief did give you some of these things?
Right, that's what I
But they're
wanted to say.
not,
We
they're
did
not
give-
exactly what you were looking for.
Right.
Either. The union made a statement, but the union didn't say that it was wouldn't be a change in working conditions. And the chief gave you a statement about how he would be the only one on it, but there's also a statement in there about how that could change.
Yeah, I have it. I'm just looking for it.
So we're just
Just
tabling that?
To be clear, I mean, even the things you did get are not exactly what you laid out as what you
Okay.
wanted to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a specific section in this?
It says, I will continue, this is from the chief, I will continue to serve both Nemlik and the town by sitting on a committee until the date of my retirement, providing, however, that if the requirements are to change prior to that, the Board of Selectmen will be advised of any of said changes in order to review the feasibility of continued membership. So that's not hard and fast, it's not going to happen, it's leaving the door open. It all depends on what you want to do with that, and then the union just says the union is supportive of joining, but it doesn't say that it wouldn't be considered a change in working conditions. Those were things that you wanted information on.
Yeah, and then the last thing that I was thinking is the fact that, that Chief Francis is 1 year, so what happens after that?
Well, I actually mentioned to Brendan that one of the other options is, since we sign the contracts, so a couple of things. We only have the ability to sign a contract for up to 3 years. If we want to go for a contract longer than 3 years, it's a town meeting vote. So I did say that one of the options we could do would be to sign the contract with Nemlik with a hard and fast end date, meaning we could sign it and say that it expires on June 30th, 2025, no exceptions. But until we can see those bylaws and determine that that's even an option,
Right.
we don't know. So it's all kind of gray at this moment. We need black and white when you're signing contracts, and we just don't have those answers. So we will table the NEMLIC discussion pending further information. Is there anything else this evening on my agenda?
Just about the union thing,
Yep.
I would just say that it's a voluntary position, so I don't think that we can claim a change in working conditions, which is why we can't really put it on there. Because it's a voluntary, you're not appointed to it, you're not assigned to that position, so us putting, it wouldn't make sense to put anything down in writing.
So Sergeant Bruce, one of the questions I would have is, to join NEMLIC, it's a percentage of the department. So being a department of 10, it's one person. But the issue there lies that there's also not a cap. So although we're saying one person has to join because of the concern of the cost that could be associated with it, you could have all 10 members join.
With the approval of the chief.
Right.
Tentatively, which then that would mean nobody would be able to work in town, potentially if there was a call out, so.
Well, right, on a revolving schedule. I mean, you'd never send all 10, but you could have all 10 appointed to NEMLIC, and at given points, all could be out of town revolving, correct? No, certainly not together, but any given time.
If that, hypothetically, if that were to be the case, I guess potentially yes.
Okay,
But
perfect.
that could also be the case on any given.
any call.
Mutual aid call as well.
Sure. Yeah, mutual aid calls, though, generally speaking, not to say that they're less frequent, because I mean, certainly in our own small communities, we're going to be supporting our local, but with NEMLIC, where it's such a great response, potentially you could have, depending on which thing you're affiliated with, whether it's SWAT team or drone or whatever, you could be called out of town pretty often.
If you voluntarily agree to go to the call, yes.
Right. So,
Yeah.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the weekly warrant in the amount of $1,099,559.69.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the Selectmen's May 6, 2024 open meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I will entertain a motion to vote to ratify the chairman's signature of approval of a reserve fund transfer in the amount of $2,500 to the Shellfish Boat Repair.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will entertain a motion to consider a request from the Essex PTO, the Essex Elementary PTO, to hold their annual Happy as a Clam race on Friday, September 13th, 2024, beginning at 5 p.m.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will entertain a motion to vote to proclaim June 2nd through June 8th, 2024, a Small Business Week in Essex, and to sign the award certificate naming Ramey Reeder of Reeder Electric as the Small Business Person of the Year 2024.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is the fun one. Next is to consider the reorganization of the board. So this, after elections every year, we talk about reorganizing the board, and we talk about who would like to be chair and who would like to be secretary, and we can do it by volunteering or nominations.
I think that we don't need to reorganize anything.
I agree.
We're perfectly fine.
Everyone is happy,
Yes. Are
so
you?
we are choosing not to reorganize.
Thank you, Ruth.
We are
You're
choosing to
excellent.
maintain. what we
Maintain.
already
We are
have.
choosing to maintain the structure of the board as it is today.
We have an excellent chair.
Brendan, can you shed light on the state surplus options for Shellfish truck?
They
if-
still have not gotten back to us, so I'll carry it again. And
Perfect.
the current truck only has 60 days, and I think we're probably 3 weeks into that or more, because it was not a safety problem, it was an emissions problem.
Right.
But at 60 days, you can't drive it anymore. I'm going to follow up again. I followed up a few times with
So
the state.
can I just say this, though? An emissions problem, so if you have a reject sticker on the windshield, you have 60 days to get it taken care of. If you don't get it taken care of, it's only a $35 ticket if the police choose to pull you over. So
I don't know that for sure, but if that's the case,
can we just say, like, maybe the Essex police might not notice the rejected sticker?
maybe.
Not going anywhere
Well,
else.
the comedy of this information comes from the town of Manchester had a ladder truck that was a working ladder truck, but it failed emissions, and they could not, for the life of them, get a mechanic that could fix the emissions problem. And we were in a meeting. Brendan and I were both there, but we were in the meeting, and I think the chief of police, or chief of the fire chief said, well, what would happen really? Are you gonna like pull us over, go into a fire with our red lights and our sirens? And he's like, nope. And he goes, well, if you did, this hypothetically, if you pulled us over, he goes, it's a $35 ticket for a rejected sticker. So we all kind of chuckled and thought, are you really pulling over the fire truck? I mean, the shellfish truck,
Well,
maybe, but.
Maybe
okay.
as long as it stays in town, it won't ever be a
Well-
problem.
It does go to Gloucester.
He does. And he goes to Ipswich. I mean, it depends where he's meeting. Yeah, he does.
So I'll try to get more information, but
But that's a Plan B if it extends beyond 60 days.
So, and Brendan, your Plan A is you're trying to get a vehicle from the surplus. Is that what I'm hearing?
that's right.
Okay.
And then we have made arrangements to actually fix this truck if we don't have Plan A come to fruition.
Okay.
We have put the money in place, but it's a lot of money. That said, you didn't pay for this truck at all.
Right.
And even the truck that got flooded out, we got insurance money for it. So
I'm just talking. This isn't any sort of a request, more just a question. I wonder if it wouldn't be more prudent to do something like, if we were going to buy a vehicle, to buy a vehicle for a different department, like say the DPW, and have the DPW repurpose their truck to the shellfish constable. And the only reason I say something like that is they have wear and tear, they're used.
They use more.
And they also, have lower mileage, but he's going to be putting it in and out of salt water. So it's just the wear and tear from the salt water really ruins a truck. That's the only reason I'm commenting, could we take something we have on hand and repurpose it that way?
well, if they're going to give anything up, they're going to want the new vehicle. And right now, we don't have
Anything to give,
we don't have any money.
or money?
There's
Okay.
no appropriation for it.
Okay.
So, it would have to be that there was a vehicle that they're not using, but I don't think that's the case. I will verify that, though.
It was just a talking point, not
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
else.
Right. Okay.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to sign the renewal paperwork for the town's police and fire accident insurance policy.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will entertain a motion to sign the renewal paperwork for the town's police and fire excess medical accident coverage.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will entertain a motion to consider approving a request to the Finance Committee for a line item transfer in the amount of $12,500 for blanket insurance for town property.
So moved.
Oh, to town property.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Brendan, if you'd like to review the change orders.
Yep, so I'm going to recommend that change orders 5 and 6 continue to be tabled because we do not have the pricing yet from the contractor. With respect to change order 3, there's about $102,000 in contingency in this project. We've only used a very small amount so far with change orders 1, 2, and 4. So there is sufficient money here for this. Apparently, when the water department was experiencing roof leaks around the vents that were in the roof on the water plant, they just had them sealed up and covered over. That's a bit of a problem because there really needs to be proper ventilation available in a building that has chemicals. And so the recommendation came both from our engineer and from the contractor that's doing the job that really should be remedied while they're in there. Our engineer looked at the cost. They feel that it's reasonable and that if you get ordered to do it some other day because you're found to be lacking, you'll have to do it quick and it's going to cost you a lot more money. Especially where within the contingency, I recommend that the board approve change order 3, which will get official paperwork, but the amount of it to
many
move
vents?
forward. I think it's 3.
3 vents?
Uh,
So they'd have to put a whole. New
Nope, sorry, 8.
A whole new venting system in, new vents, probably, and repair the roof around it.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're repairing, says they're repairing 8 roof vents,
Yeah.
but then the roof around it too,
Yeah.
because that was the problem, it was leaking, so they just sealed it, but they highly recommend that that capability be restored while they have people in the building.
Sure.
So I will entertain a motion to approve change order number 3 in the amount of $30,218.88 for the roof vents.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And on those other two, just realize, particularly with the control wiring to the well, we'll talk about that more at a future meeting, but that was supposed to be part of the well project, which is it's going to be back out to bid. Right now, since the water filtration plant project is ongoing and they're putting new control panels in there, they were hoping that whatever was going to go in as part of the other project would just couple up with their project, but it's not working that way. So the options that we'll discuss in the future have to do with kind of working around that and maybe working in conjunction with a future project, so.
What kind of numbers are you thinking of for the 5 and 6 change order?
I think that we're going to be, still, all I've heard from the engineers, the whole package, right up through change order 6 is still going to be within project contingency.
Okay.
They don't know until they have some of these options for wiring priced, how close we're going to come.
Yeah.
So, all right, so that one's done, and I'll bring you more information.
Do you have anything that's not anticipated?
I have one thing. As you know, the town meeting approved a little over $55,000 for the new tasers for the police department. The quotation, or the official paperwork from Axon, who makes the tasers, came to the police department shortly after the meeting posting deadline for this meeting. You don't meet again until June 10th, and my understanding is there is a 6-month lead time to get these things, so I don't want to slow it down any more than that. The price on the tasers themselves came in at just over $48,000, and we can do, this would be a sole source procurement because they're the only people that make them. Chapter 30B, however, says you can't do a sole source procurement on anything over $50,000, so it fits within. There's some training that needs to be done, but that can be purchased at a later time because we're not even going to have the tasers. So I'm asking for the board to authorize this will be ratified at your next meeting, to authorize the chief to go ahead with the order for the tasers themselves, so we don't lose any more time.
48,000?
Yes.
So I will entertain a motion to approve the request to move forward with the taser purchase in the amount of
$48,738.
$48,738.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Just bear with me 1 second. Peter, these three need your signature. It's Alan, there's 12 that need yours.
What?
Who was the other sergeant?
Danny Bruce and Tom Chimchak. Okay, under licensing. I will entertain a motion to approve all of the one-day wine and malt licenses as listed on pages 2, 3, and 4 of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Peter, can you pass that to Alva? Perfect. Okay,
Do I need to sign any of those?
Not yet. I don't see it, I mean,
Yeah, they're all
You signed.
signed. Yeah.
I don't want to confuse those. You want to hand that back to her?
I will entertain a motion So now we've moved on page 4, one-day entertainment licenses. I will entertain a motion to approve the Essex Historical Society and Shipbuilding Museum, Katy, Montgomery, for use on Thursday, May 30th, 2024, between the hours of 1 p.m. and 1:15 p.m. within the confines of the Essex Shipbuilding Museum Shipyard at 66 Main Street, Essex Elementary School, band concert, acoustic, outdoors in the shipyard tent.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next one, if somebody would like to take this motion, I'm going to be abstaining from this. The middle of the page, Woodman's
Yep.
Inc., under one day.
I will entertain a motion to vote Woodman's Inc., Douglas Woodman, for the use on Wednesday, June 26, 2024, between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. within the confines of the Salt Marsh Tent and associated grassy area at 119 Main Street, one-man steel drum player, no amplification.
So the issue with that is, like, so I highlighted this on the policy, which is under the key elements to be reviewed.
Yeah.
You know, I did highlight that it says acoustic music not involving significant elements of percussion or horns is in the best interest of the residents living in the area of an establishment offering outdoor entertainment. And I just, you know, this is an interesting request because to the best of my recollection, I've never seen a one-man steel drum, quiet or played outside, so I
Right,
don't.
but it does, at least it's saying one person, so, because the policy, I looked at that too, the policy says significant. And I guess the question is, where do you draw the line at significant when you're talking about a one-person situation? I don't know, you've never, quote, tested out
Right.
any type of steel drum.
And so
6
my,
to 8.
my opinion is if they were asking for multiple, I'd be cautious, but if they're asking for this one time, then we have a way of knowing
Yeah,
what that's gonna do.
tend to agree, and it's 2 hours again.
And it's a Wednesday, you know, it's middle of the summer, right, isn't it? But what's the
Yeah,
date?
So,
Yeah, it's June 26th.
Yeah, so that's how I feel, is that where they're requesting it for a one-time, June 26th, we have to put in our calendars to make sure we pay attention and see if people complain.
yeah. So do I have a second?
So do you want to second it, Alba?
Oh, sorry, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain.
We did this one.
Next, we have a one-day Sunday for the Essex Police Department Annual Classic Car Show. Police Chief Paul Francis for use on Sunday, September 8th, 2024, between the hours of 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. within the confines of Memorial Park. Recorded music provided by DJ John Ross and JC Entertainment of Ipswich.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will entertain a motion to approve the non-resident shellfish permit for William Locke Jr., Gloucester resident, sponsored by Bruce Peterson.
So moved.
So the resident is from Gloucester and Bruce Peterson is from Essex? How does this work?
Correct.
Yeah,
That's a non-resident shellfish license that we,
you need an Essex resident.
And my question is this to get an additional so that they can clam in Gloucester, then come clam in Essex?
they're not supposed to hold another license in another municipality in order to be approved for this. So I think, I've mentioned to Brendan before, I think that all of our shellfish licenses, the application should be tuned up a little bit, because I would like to see more myself. I know that's not part of this vote, but the application process, if you look at it, it just requires a copy of their driver's license. I would like to see a copy of, a tax bill from the resident that's here in Essex, proving that that resident actually lives here and that they really should be a sponsor. I would like to see, that they have the ability to be a sponsor, or more from the Gloucester residents. So I think that they need to be a little more robust, but
Because I guess
A way of skirting the rules,
correct.
I just wonder whether or not we could just reach out to Gloucester and say, just verifying this person doesn't already hold a license.
So that would be something we could ask the town clerk, because I don't know what that process looks like once it
I don't
leaves
either,
our
that's why I
vote.
was asking.
Yeah, we can check that with Ann and see what that process looks like after a vote leaves this room. I'm happy to do it. I'll reach out to her tomorrow. I'm going to continue with the licenses before we go to the personnel board. Oh, these are just appointments. Okay, so we'll do personnel board next. So before us is the request to consider approving an updated version of the Board of Public Health nurse position description. So we received a copy of the existing job description, and then a copy of the proposed job description. I'm sure Brennan probably has more background on this.
Yep, so the Board of Health Administrator went to the Board of Health to say, look, we need to modernize the public health nurse position description.
I'm sorry, who came to you to say that?
Aaron?
Erin, the Board of Health Administrator, first went to the Board of Health to say that she would like to make these changes. And the Board of Health agreed to what you see as the proposed document. And then it needs to come through the Board of Selectmen in their capacity as Personnel Board before it can actually be formally changed. She felt that it was, the original had become outdated, especially post-COVID, and that she streamlined it a bit and recommended this, which her board endorsed.
Well, they did, okay.
Yes.
Just gonna ask that, yeah.
So, does anyone have questions? I actually had a few, so I'm happy to go first. I don't necessarily have a problem with the proposed job description. That's not why I'm speaking. I guess I just felt like it was slimmed down quite a bit from, when you look at the existing, it talks about the duties and responsibilities that they should be able to perform. And this one just talks about making accommodations if they can't do certain things. So I agree that you can remove things like distributing and overseeing the distribution of potassium iodide. I don't think that needs to be in there. But then it talks about things like being able to use, ultimately being able to use a syringe. And it doesn't say it in those words, but it kind of implies it. And then this one just says multiple times over and over, the work environment, you know, will make exceptions. It doesn't feel as robust as the existing one. I do think this is dated, needs updating, but I feel like this, I
It is
guess-
5 hours, too, a week.
yeah, I guess my not frustration, I guess my pushback is gonna be that oftentimes we hear employees say, well, it's not part of my job description. And so I always get concerned when I read something that says, the requirements listed below are representative of the knowledge, skills, and ability required, and reasonable accommodations may be made to enable the individuals with disabilities to perform the tasks. And it says that a couple of times throughout. It says it 3 times. So it just feels like, but what are they doing?
So, but are they not supposed to be following the state Board of Health regulations?
Well, they are, but that's not the job description. They follow those regulations, but the job description is what they're doing on a day-to-day, or 5 hours a
Well,
week.
it's 5 hours a week. So I guess I didn't have that concern. I did feel that we should be putting in this job description, and now that we have this thing called the internet, the link to the site that that really mandates what they are to do. So is this this is not for a new position, it's for a current position, correct?
It's a
That's right.
currently vacated position that they're gonna be hiring for.
Oh, so that's what was my question. So it is a position that they're gonna be hiring for?
Yes.
Right, they've had a nurse, you know, in the past, but that person recently resigned, and I think that's part of why the administrator wanted to refresh the job description before they brought that next person on.
This first one was that written for how many hours a week?
It
The
didn't.
same.
The same.
It is the same.
Yeah. So on the last page of the existing job description, the 2 things that I circled and kind of put a question mark is, the first one under physical demands, it says, while performing the duties of this job, the employee is frequently required to walk, sit, stand, talk, or hear. The employee is frequently required to use the stairs and drive a vehicle. The employee is occasionally required to use hands to finger, handle, feel or operate objects, tools, or controls to reach with hands and arms. Specific vision abilities require this job to include close visual and the ability to adjust focus. So, given my background, you read between the lines, right? They need to be able to read a vial, read medication, draw a syringe. You need dexterity of the hands. So while, yes, I do feel that the description is kind of juvenile, and it should go without saying, I also feel like
It's necessary.
it's necessary for the job, yet it doesn't say it over here. That's,
See, I guess that I would say being vague and saying performing the duties that the job requires. You're a nurse taking on a Mass Health, Board of Health position.
Depends on what, legally, what legal says. I mean, because this description that you just read may not cover some things that they need to do, whereas, performing the duties that are required.
Right, I mean, the physical demands on the new one just says the physical demands described here are representative of those that must be met by an employee to successfully perform the essential functions of this job. Reasonable accommodations may be made to enable individuals with disabilities to perform the essential functions. So, but it says the physical demands described here, but there's no actual described true physical demands. So I guess that's where and then the second piece, that's one thing, and then the second thing is work environment. I realize that this is kind of elementary and kind of silly, except it's kind of important. The noise level of the work environment runs from quiet to noisy. The Board of Health office is on the 3rd floor of the town hall. I understand that you don't necessarily need to identify that, except you could. If somebody has social emotional needs, or they have PTSD, and they think they're working in a quiet environment, and the next thing you know, you get the library running back and
That's
forth.
what you're vetting out during interviewing process.
Maybe.
You could tomorrow decide that the Board of Health office in general is gonna be moved to the elementary school. Or you could decide, you know what I'm saying, like,
Sure.
there's no guarantee it's gonna stay here. And, so I don't feel that it needs to be in detail like that.
Okay.
I think saying that, it's not consistent, maybe something you put in. But is it a necessity of the job? I don't think so.
Was there any discussion by the Board of Health in their minutes on their concerns and how they got to this?
Unfortunately, I was not attending the Board of Health meeting, so I don't know
Yeah.
personally.
I do know that they supported it. They voted to support it, but the final step is through you. You could also have, well, June 10th is the next time you meet.
I'm not opposed. I guess there are just things, if I were in the meeting, I would have questioned. Like, they changed the preferred qualifications from 3 years to 2 years. And when it comes to nursing, generally, the more time you're doing it,
Better
the
you
more
are.
skilled you become. So I guess I would just question some of these things, but if the Board of Health,
Do you think that they did that because of trying to find somebody that they want to?
maybe,
It's possible.
it's possible. But right, hopefully not. Hopefully they want someone with as much experience as possible. So I guess I feel like I am not going to step on the toes of the Board of Health. They are the medical professionals. You have 2 doctors and a nurse,
Right.
and they felt that it was appropriate. So I will entertain a motion to approve the job description for the town of Essex
So moved.
public health nurse.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. So on page 5, it gets a little bit funny because we have appointments, and I was gonna just have Alva read them all because she's not being reappointed, but then Peter's being reappointed, so it's a little bit messy. So I think what I'm gonna do is, Alva, if you want to, no, Peter, why don't you take from the ADA coordinator down to the Eastern National Veterans District Rep for 3 years? And if you want to make that motion,
Okay.
and I'll just abstain from that, and then I'll make your motion, and Alva and I can vote, and then if you want to make the second batch of motions.
So down to the Eastern National Veteran one?
Yeah, so if you want to make the motion starting at ADA coordinator down to Eastern
You want
National.
me to do each one or just?
You can just
go?
do them as a
Okay.
grouping. I think Pam
Yeah.
can do that.
That's right.
So I will entertain a motion to reappoint for the following positions: ADA Coordinator on page 5 through Eastern National Veterans District Rep for 3 years.
So moved?
And Alva, if you want to just second that, he's making the motion,
Second,
you
sorry,
second.
second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain. I will entertain a motion to appoint 8 towns in the Great Marsh Coalition for 1 year. Peter Fippen. Alva, will you second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Peter, you're going to abstain?
Yes.
Perfect. And then, Peter, if you want to take the vote from fence viewers for 1 year, all the way down to Veterans Graves Officer.
We would like to know what a fence viewer is, and
You look at fences.
It's just there are some archaic positions in the general laws that
Who is it anyway?
have remained as part of the charm of the town.
We're the fence viewers. I've not looked at any fence, I guess
Well,
I
we don't
have.
look at bark and mulch
Oh,
either.
I've looked at the fence.
You haven't
over-
even appointed that, because that always gets delegated by town meeting to allow the Board of Selectmen to.
We've looked at the fence over at, the used car guy.
That's true, Mark Gallagher.
See?
And
You're doing your
Canoga
job.
Point. Yep.
Yep.
So Peter,
I'll
will you take
entertain a motion to vote to reappoint from, on page 5, from fence viewers down to Veterans Grave Officer.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will abstain. Okay, reminders, we have tomorrow, the Greater Cape Ann Chamber Essex Division meeting on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, at 8 a.m., Rivers Bend, 35 Dodge Street, and the Small Business Person Award Ceremony on Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, from 5 to 7 p.m. on the lawn at Woodman's Function Hall, or possibly at the Lobster Trap. And then the next regular Board of Selectmen's meeting will take place on Monday, June 10th, 2024, at 6 p.m., third floor of the Town Hall.
Are you planning on being there tomorrow?
Yes,
I'm gonna try as well.
okay.
Yep,
I,
I'll be there too.
Brendan will be there. I will not be staying the entire time. I have 30 minutes, and then I'm leaving. Is there any public comment on the line? We only have one participant. Tina, if you have public comment, please unmute and speak. If not, we'll wish you a good evening. Okay, Tina is not on mute.
I did want to just make a
Yes.
comment. You didn't mention it, but the Council on Aging, for the volunteer appreciation lunch on the 31st of May, they gave us postcards. I think I'm probably going to go. I made a copy of this picture. I'll send it to you and Peter in case you want to go.
Perfect, thank you.
And that was, what day?
31st of May, which is a Friday, at 12:30. Their ice cream was so good. I'm assuming
Where-
their lunch will be good. Oh, it's going to be here. It's up here in the
It's
town hall.
up here, Senior Center. You said at noon?
It's 12:30 PM. So I didn't know whether or not we should be sending it to anybody, like, is...
So it was by invite only,
Okay.
and she gave you and I each a personal invitation and asked that we include Peter. So I don't know that it's for anybody else. I think
Okay.
it's limited. Okay, it's 7:33. Is there any other discussion with the board? No? I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:33 PM.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.